Sarah,
Yes.
thank you so much for being here and for chatting about your campaign to represent the Southeast District in Sioux Falls on the City Council. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics today, but I want to start by just getting to know you a little bit better. Tell us about yourself, why you decided to run for City Council.
Yeah, well, like I've said before, I'm a wife and a mom and an engineer, and we've lived in Sioux Falls for 18 years. We've raised 4 kids so far. The youngest is will be 10 by the time Election Day rolls around, and yeah, I just have really paid a lot of attention, especially in that engineering role. It's just hard for me wherever I am. Even the years I was a stay-home mom, it was hard to not pay attention to what the city was doing in different places. And I also am just naturally curious, so I'm willing to listen. I know I'll learn a lot more as time goes on. I've already been hearing a lot from people that I've been reaching out to in Southeast Sioux Falls and learning more. So, but yeah, I just ultimately feel called to serve the community in this role. So.
That's great. I'm going to start you off with kind of a fun one, maybe a tough one.
Okay.
If you could only eat at one Sioux Falls restaurant for the rest of the year,
oh boy,
where are you going? You don't have to bring your kids.
If I could only eat at one, so then, but I get to answer it however I want, right?
You get to answer however you want.
Okay,
There's no
all right.
wrong answers.
Okay. So, Sushi Masa's fish is super fresh, and Grill 26 has been one of our go-tos throughout the years, so we have a lot of memories going way back. I wish they'd bring their ribeye back. But, is money an option? 'Cause
people have been interpreting it different ways, but yeah, most people are saying like if money's no object, this is where I'm going.
Okay, well that would be Maurice, I think, because I haven't been to Ironwood yet.
Okay.
So, but if someone wants to take me out to eat, me and my husband, and meet up with us, Ironwood would be
gorgeous.
A great option.
Okay, good to know. Manifesting. I love it. Just Sushi Masa. I forget about that place. That's a great.
Yeah, their fish is like one day old sometimes.
Yeah, so good. And it's a good time of year for it too.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Friday fish fry kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I want to get into some of the topics that Sioux Falls Simplified readers have asked me about, and the number one thing I heard from people that they want to, kind of wrap their heads around as they're making their decisions is how candidates would approach housing, affordable housing, and homelessness. So I want to start on that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what is your philosophy when it comes to addressing homelessness in our community and the role that the city should play in that conversation?
Oh, I'm so glad that's part of this. I was just at the banquet last week as part of the South Dakota Engineering Society. We served a breakfast there, which is something I had done a year ago too. And both times, both times I volunteered to be that person handing out the ticket at the front door. And I can just feel, and I love how every single homeless person, and they're not all homeless, I don't think. Some people just can't afford breakfast that day, are coming in, and everybody's got a different story, and you can feel it, and they're all from different places. And so I just think that that's just so beautiful. And then, so you start out from the banquet, and then you kind of move around a couple of those blocks in there. And I've been into the Union Gospel Mission 4 times to speak there. And that was kind of part of our church that we belonged to. There was an opportunity for one night a year, 1 or 2 nights a year to speak there. And that too, I can just feel the room, like how many people are so warm and welcoming. It's honestly, it's probably one of the places I've been welcomed the most. Just to, they're so glad I'm there when I come. And so at the same time, it sounds like there's some plans, I've watched the city kind of clear out the buckthorn, and I could see why, because I remember being in my 20s and being new to Sioux Falls and having kids in the parks and playgrounds and being somewhat scared, because I didn't know really that some of these people are really content. And then I've learned that I think the city's doing a lot, some things right. Like, it sounds like some of the staff at the banquet knows some of the homeless people by name.
Sure.
And then so do some of the Parks and Rec staff and some of the police officers.
Yeah.
And so, it's, when you hear the word homeless and you really feel comfortable in your home and love your home and feel welcomed by everybody you live with, then homeless sounds like a really hard word. But if you had dealt with some of the things that other people deal with where home isn't that, then, you know, homeless might not sound like such an awful word to some people. So, yeah, I think that it takes teamwork and definitely paying attention and reading people and what, you know, whether or not it's linked to substance abuse or just something else. And you know, substance abuse and our police officers are just, I think they're, you know, we need to keep supporting our police as well. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about the affordable housing side of things. What do you think the city should be doing to, you know, pave the way for more affordable housing options for people, you know, maybe buying their first home or trying to get out of renting and into owning, or even just trying to find a place to live, period?
Yeah. You know, I don't know that I'm the most well-versed. Like, this question might not be my strongest one necessarily, but I do know some people that live in low-income housing, and, you know, they're moms with kids that my kids have gotten to know. And I'd like to see some of those get located maybe close to a bike trail so those kids can, like, safely get to a park or a playground somewhere. Because it's really the moms that I've gotten to know, they're there because it's the step in life where that they're at, you know. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily. I've also heard that some of the families that live there, that, you know, everybody's different. So some people are super comfortable in low-income housing, and then some people are like, I wish I wasn't. You know, I wish this was different or this piece was different. And so, but overall, you know, when you look at the cost of living, there's a lot going on with the cost of living these days that you can have some real hardworking people who are living in low-income housing.
Yeah, yeah, so, everything's getting more expensive for sure. Yeah. I don't want to cut you off if there's anything else on housing policy-wise that you wanted to discuss, but you can.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, it's probably one, like, overall, the main thing I would say about housing is that I do need to learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
That it's one of the areas where I plan to listen a little bit more, because I know of some families in low-income housing, and I know that, you know, things are different for so many people. There's so many different reasons why people are in low-income housing, and some of them are very hardworking people who are raising kids. And I do think that there should be some opportunities for kids in those neighborhoods.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit, too, about public safety. Mm-hmm. The police department has grown significantly over the last 8-10 years. So has Sioux Falls. The crime rate has stayed relatively flat. But, how would you approach balancing the public safety needs of the community with some of the budget realities that Sioux Falls is facing?
Yeah, I guess the first part of your question there, you said the crime rate has stayed pretty flat. And
yes.
Just as an engineer, do you mean like as a percentage of people, or the number of incidences per year?
Per capita crime rate has been relatively flat. And actually this year, I think they just came out with the stats. It's the lowest per capita violent crime rate in 5 years.
Okay.
In 2025. And then the property crime rate was down.
Yeah.
The lowest in, several years as well. I can't remember the exact stat.
I'm glad that you shared that piece with me, because I hadn't technically looked at that part. But But when I kind of do the math of that, then you're saying that when we used to be 160,000 people, and now we have 225,000 people. If we used to have 16 crimes, now we have 22.5 crimes.
Sure.
So
you can do that math much faster than
22.
I can.
Well, I divided by just.
I trust you. I trust you.
But so. I've met some police officers that have moved here from places where the crime was significantly higher. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things that I think this last city administration, if you'd call it that, did a really good job at.
Yeah.
And so that's a year ago when I was, that was kind of really what started this. It was a year ago, and I heard that the mayor had one more year, and I was like, who's going to fill his shoes? And I thought to myself, I have the courage that I could fill his shoes. And so I went and talked to him, and he said I was the 9th person coming, and that some of the other people had a lot more name recognition than Sara Pankonin. So, and he didn't think that my experience as a stay-home mom of 3 boys back, when I did that was a CEO. So, which I agreed with. But, anyway, at that time he said that there's this Southeast City Council position that might be a better start for you. And then he kind of already knew that David Barranco was going to run for state auditor. Yeah. So he's like, why don't you look at that? So as much as I tried to put it on the back seat, it just kind of kept creeping up, when I was having my quiet time, And, then it was January when I sat down with someone that I was really hoping was going to run, and I thought he was going to run in Southeast District. And he was just a younger man in his mid-30s. And in the first minute, he's like, I'm not running. And then he's like, but Sara, for Southeast sounds good. So then my husband was there too. We, arrived after he dropped off our son for school. And we both just really thought and prayed through that week. And so here I am, kind of listening and learning and taking advice from whoever I can get advice from. And I'll just continue to do that. So yeah. Now, did I answer that question?
We got a little derailed, which is totally fine because I love that story and in your background. I think that's great to share. I do want to ask more directly about like the how you would approach balancing public safety needs in especially when we're looking at declining sales tax revenues, or maybe not declining, but falling short of projections, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So I haven't met with our police chief yet. Okay. So I did. I've met with a few other of the departments. I met with Public Works, and I met, but I haven't met with the police chief quite yet. So I did stop there one day and tried to, but it's kind of an email thing at this point, and I'm sure he's a busy person. So one of my favorite things I saw was these dad jokes that it was like one police officer versus one firefighter. Oh. And so I shared that with our whole family, and I thought that was great. And I don't think that they do a whole lot of those, but I was trying to Google just to learn more about our police department, and that popped up. And there's not a lot in the world that I personally watch that entertains me, that on a local level like that. Yeah. That where it was just like, those are funny. Like this is really good. Yeah. And I can share it with my kids, and they can laugh too. And
they've got some good outreach there for sure.
So, but when it comes to public safety, so we've got our fire department, we've got our police department. I do think that transportation kind of fits in there. I don't know if one of your following questions, is related to transportation or not. But
it's not, but it's a topic that's important to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really important to me. I got on 229 all last year to get to work. Yeah. And I knew that Veterans Parkway should be done already. And so it's like, do I be upset as a mom, wife, engineer that our transportation isn't where it's supposed to be, or do I run for city council and do something about it? And so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I want to close the loop on public safety. What's your approach to or philosophy with funding and decision-making about the police department?
So you said funding and decision-making about the police department.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think our police department should have to raise its own funds by giving enough tickets necessarily. I think,
sure.
If I was going to balance their budget,
city funded.
Yeah. So and then if the state or county, or whoever they're getting funds from now, which I technically don't know because I haven't looked at their budget.
It's part of the city. It's city.
So I do think it should stay city funded. Yep. Yeah, and the city should make sure that fund doesn't get cut short from what is needed by our police department.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one more quick public safety question before we move on. This came from a lot of readers as well. Do you support collaboration between the Sioux Falls Police Department and federal immigration officials?
And federal immigration officials?
ICE agents, for example.
I would probably think that you would start out with, do we have a local problem? I've been going door to door, and I found a few people that weren't registered to vote, and they seemed like very hardworking, happy people that I wasn't concerned meeting them. Yeah. So at the same time, I'm glad that I'm a citizen, and maybe there's a few people that are still on that journey, And I've watched some people become citizens. And I think that that's really like the people that I know that became citizens were really, really happy to become citizens. Years ago, I met a gal from Eritrea. She was so happy to be here. She was like the happiest person at Drake Springs Pool that day. And I was like, what can I learn from you? Because here in this culture where we grew up here, from time to time, we like lose our joy a little bit. And why do we do that? It's because we lack thankfulness. And so if we have been a country that's been prosperous for so long that we've lost our thankfulness, then maybe we need to be listening to a few people who are thankful to be here, you know, and working with them to see, you know, about their decision to stay here.
Sure.
So
I want to talk too about the arts. So the city's in the process of developing an arts and culture master plan, and a recent survey as part of that research showed that most residents do support city funding for the arts. How would you personally approach funding decisions for public art projects?
Oh, I think art is amazing. Like, I don't know how many people saw my St. Patty's Day, but my daughter and I had an artistic side the night before, and she had. Did you get to see me loop the wagon? Because, you know, I just thought, you know, this parade, it sounds like a good thing for a candidate to be in, and how about we make the most of it? However we could do that. And then I was like, well, I don't have signs yet. How about we make them? And that process of being creative, you know, there was a Father's Day a few years ago that, you know, my dad was 6 hours away from where I was, and my husband was 7 hours away from where I was, and my grandpa had passed away by then. And so I didn't know how to celebrate Father's Day. So my daughter and I went to Michael's, and I painted for 8 hours. And I painted a picture of the barn that I spent a lot of time with my dad in, and a picture of the airplane that my grandpa was the airplane mechanic on. And I put them into the same painting, and that's what we decorated our one room with. And when I go shopping, I can't find anything I want to buy. And when, you know, when it comes to like, even like media content and things like that, I think I don't think that we're going to be happy and healthy seeing like AI, for example, replace some of the things that some of our artists can do.
Yeah. Would you continue or expand or change the way the city funds public art projects currently?
I think, you know, that's another one that I haven't looked into it really, like to see exactly where the budget is at. But I think, you know, my priorities are, you know, police and fire, and then transportation. And then because the city's still growing, we need some of those green spaces for people to have a place to quietly paint in the future, or draw, or, you know, do their art, or something that's beautiful for them to make art of. So, but I think art would probably be, you know, something that I definitely want on a short. So,
You mentioned the green spaces, which is a perfect segue into my next question, talking about sustainability and protecting natural resources in Sioux Falls. The city has a sustainability plan. I don't think it's, I don't think it's an ordinance necessarily. Sorry, I'm short-circuiting. But in terms of the sustainability plan the city has in place, and you know, future decisions, what would be your approach to protecting natural resources, and specifically as it relates to, you know, new developments, new parkland, new, you know, as the city continues to grow?
Yeah. Boy, that's a good question for me because it's a lot closer to, you know, my background. You know, I worked for the city 10 years ago. And I worked on the sanitary sewer engineering team.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. And we were right across the room from stormwater at that time. And stormwater at that time, you know, wasn't preserving wetlands as they got developed. And I knew how to do wetland delineations because the farm I grew up on, it was pretty much where you didn't drive a tractor. And we had to learn all these grasses because sometimes you'd be like, because our cows were out on pasture. So anyway, I learned a lot about wetlands. And so to have that wetland experience, I was curious why we weren't protecting our wetlands that are right here. And when I talked to the stormwater team at that time about it, they were like, well, if we try to do that, it's not going to be the same wetland. Like, bags are going to blow into it. And or if we don't figure out the drainage around it, then if the runoff that's coming into it, it's not going to be the same wetland anymore. It's not going to have the same exact plant species when the city develops around it anyway.
Yeah.
So then what they were doing is they're taking those wetlands and then mitigating them. So there's a place out, that probably more of us should visit, that is a wildlife management area, and that's where the mitigation credits get put. So like essentially any wetland in Sioux Falls that we develop, we're funding this big place for birds to come,
Sure.
outside of Sioux Falls.
Sure.
And so at the same time, when we don't have a lot of wooded areas in our outskirts, a lot of what we develop is farmland that gets sold.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, there's a few trees. So, and then those just kind of get wiped out and filled. And then we kind of lack shade, natural shade, in my opinion, once the development is done. But I guess if the development is done in a way that the existing low spot matches the new low spot, then if the new low spot is supposed to have stormwater detention in it, then having trees and stormwater detention means floods. So,
Right.
So it's, yeah. So I could probably ask the question one more time. I'm going to see if I can.
Yeah, just kind of your approach to protecting natural resources.
Yeah. So,
We have the Big Sioux River running right
Yes.
through town, and
Yeah.
kind of all these.
I think the stuff we've been doing with Skunk Creek is pretty neat.
Tell me more about that.
Like Skunk Creek flows into Big Sioux.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole group that has worked all the way up Skunk Creek over the years on conservation.
Oh, cool.
And then some of the soil that we have is a real fine particle. So when we have a big flood event,
Yeah.
there's like the water hits our banks so hard all through the Big Sioux that so it's like if you had done all this stuff and made it, almost like you were out in the mountains as far
Yeah.
as the level of vegetation that we try to get around our river, but then the river force just still comes so strong and hits these real fine soil particles that are at our banks, because it's not
Yeah.
flowing over rocky ground and it's
Right.
not sand that can just move and make a new sandbar always. There are some of that in some of the stretches, but there's also stretches that contribute to what's going on that have this fine soil type.
Cool. Okay.
So when we see a really muddy river sometimes flowing through Sioux Falls, we're like, that's so muddy, that's so gross. And I'm like, it's like clay mostly. So, and I've been volunteering at the Big Sioux Water Festival for years.
Great. Yeah.
Because a lot of the students are in that same watershed. And I actually do the name of what I do when I'm at the Big Sioux Water Festival is called, it's about the watersheds. So it's about this exact topic.
Yeah.
But you were getting on the topic of natural resources, right?
Yeah, no, and I think water is part of that. And another reason
So you don't want me getting to groundwater, do you?
you're welcome to.
Well,
I mean, I don't want to derail us too far.
I had a college
But
class in it, but I think when it gets to, if I was going to stay more and sound like a politician more, if I could do that, I guess when it comes to natural resources, we have sun. So do we have shade to go with it? And we plant trees, but we also cut trees down. And when it comes to water, we get rain and we have no control over how and when and how much rain we get. And, but, in the end, we need to be thankful for moisture and we need to be thankful for sunshine. And we need to be good stewards of the land.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to talk also about, we were talking about development a little bit, but like another question that's come up in recent months is data centers and some concerns from the community about water usage, electrical rates going up, the kind of the sort of refrains that we've heard from people concerned about data centers.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? How would you approach kind of balancing, again, like we want to be welcoming to businesses and technology, but also we only have so much groundwater.
Can I just run for city council 200 years ago instead?
Well, I don't even know if there was a city council 200 years ago.
Probably not. I'm probably off my math there. No, I would have been, could I congregate with all the women and bake bread together 200 years ago instead?
That doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, we'll all watch each other's kids.
Yeah.
But we're in today. We're in 2026. And 2026 includes advances in technology similar to what we had, in an industrial revolution 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. And when I needed to make a website for this campaign, because we only knew 300 out of the 16,000 people in Sioux Falls, I asked people who could help me make a website, and Click Rain was going to be I think she said $5,000 and take 10 weeks. Mm. And I was like, oh, that's not exactly what I was thinking, because I need to get going. And I don't have $5,000 of campaign contributions yet, which is really a goal for us, to not use a lot of our savings for the campaign.
Yeah.
But my neighbor across the road, she's like, here, you got 3 apps. And so I took one, and I have an AI generated, AI helped me make my website.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle that I made a website. Anybody that's ever worked with me and knows how much I like water and people and problem solving and big picture know that I don't do computers, and I could never work without an IT person. So for me to make a website is that's showing that AI has made advancements.
Yeah. At
the same time, I don't know why I have no control over what pops onto my Facebook when I open it up to check how things are going. I'm why do I have to see that right now? Why can't I just see my page if I'm going to Facebook and, or see something that I have some level of control over?
Right.
So when it gets into those types of things, for example, I had an opportunity to pay for ads, and Meta wanted my driver's license. And I didn't know if I wanted to give Meta AI my driver's license, or does Meta AI already have my driver's license? I don't know. But I since I can't call the owner of Facebook if something gets messed up and say hey, can you, what's going on here?
Fix it. Yeah.
It's kind of so I don't know. I probably, this is one of those topics that when you answer the question, each person out there listening can have their own view of this so much, and their own connection to how it's going to benefit them in different ways, that if you make some sort of a general statement on either AI is good or AI is bad, you are going to not fit in with either side.
Sure.
At the same time, we can almost say the same thing about water. Water is good, we drink it every day. Water is bad when it floods.
Sure.
Sure. Homes are destroyed, and we've got a big mess here, and people have died. So, but then if we don't have healthy water to drink, we don't have life.
Yeah.
So if AI could be somewhat similar to that, you have AI that is bad, and then you have AI that is good. So what I want to know, and I think it'd be really cool if part of this campaign, even if I don't win the election, if I end up figuring out who in this country that I'm a part of is in charge of whether or not AI is good or bad, and who is going to police the bad AI. If I knew that and kind of could have, or let's say we're going to pay for a data center or approve one, how much of the AI going through that data center is good and how much of it is bad? Do I get to know that? Because if it was a water treatment plant, we would know where all the water's going, because we'd have water meters on all of it.
Sure.
And we'd say, this one's going to that user over there, and this one's going to that user over there. Well, if all this information is coming into the data center and AI is going through it, do I get to have any say in whether or not it's good AI or bad AI? And who am I supposed to trust to police that?
Well, and good and bad probably mean different things to everybody too, of what's good and what.
So right. I don't know though. There would be a cutoff for me of what's good and bad. I think that pornography is bad.
Sure.
There's a moral absolute for me when it comes to that.
Sure.
So, and I think that stealing someone's information is bad.
Right.
So, But you might be right that there would be these areas in the middle.
There's probably,
that, but we still could have data on all three. Like, okay, everybody agrees, like theft is bad.
Yep.
Okay, everybody agree, like these are the ones we don't agree on, but we still have data on them because we know. But and these are, everybody agrees this is good. Let's, you know, and so, I don't. When it gets into power generation, I think it's really interesting. I had heard that at the federal level, power plants could be approved in like 3 weeks. I heard that was something that Trump had said. And so I don't really know what that fully means. Like if we still have, you know, local permits and like siting, because if you're going to site different types of power plants, they have like setbacks and things like that.
Yeah.
So
I guess I don't. I'm a local journalist, so I don't pretend to know all the federal stuff.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I
do
was
know
wondering
locally
how it might affect this one over here because
I know locally, like any electric rates here have to go and be approved by the Public Utilities Commission at the state level. So I don't know what that means for like building new facilities, but
the rates
presumably
have to get
there's
reviewed,
zoning and those kind of laws that would I want to move on and talk a little bit about another topic that's, you know, certainly near and dear to my heart, probably to yours as well as a mother. What role, if any, do you think the city should play in addressing the ongoing childcare crisis in Sioux Falls?
Oh, I wish I knew more about this one too.
Yeah.
You know, I watched when our kids were young, I went through a lot of daycare centers that there was no way we were going to use it for daycare. And I mean, maybe I would have but I would have made other like decisions than doing that, and they're closed now. So I don't know what closed them. I think it might have had to do with finances and staffing and stuff.
Typically,
like that.
that's been the
and then
case,
I had heard a few years ago that this, you know, the city had funded a $400,000 for the lawyers to look at like childcare, and so now I see like one of those buildings that got closed years ago has is under like a new name, new colors. And so, but I'm assuming that what you mean by a crisis is like, if someone needs to find childcare, they can't.
Yeah.
Like they physically can't. Like they'll call around to everybody around them and if people say no, because that sounds like a crisis if that's what the situation is.
Well, and what I really mean is just that sort of dynamic that, you know, parents are struggling to not only find available slots, but afford the slots that are available.
Yeah.
And then providers are struggling with staffing. They have very low wages. And then, you know, there's just sort of this this feedback loop of like, it's too expensive to run a daycare, but we can't charge the parents more. And the parents can't afford to pay. So it's just a very complicated scenario.
Daycare centers. This was probably 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That I was like, I'm going to start a program where we get more volunteers into our daycare centers.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I called 2 of them. And I said, if I go find these recently retired teachers and people that could really would love to hold babies and their health, you know, like, would you be open to this?
Yeah.
And the first one said, I don't physically have room for another rocking chair in my infant room.
Wow.
And so that conversation didn't go much further. The second one said, well, I don't want someone coming in here and telling me how I'm supposed to take care of babies. And that one didn't go much further. And so really, I mean, I started something that I really didn't finish, but maybe I would have the opportunity to finish it on city council.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I want to talk too about the downtown Sioux Falls. So with the announcement that Smithfield is moving to Northwest Sioux Falls, that's opening up this huge swath of land that can now be redeveloped. Yeah. What is your vision for that space? They're calling it the Sanford District. What's your vision for that space? And maybe more importantly, how would you want to see the community approach decision making about what that looks like, you know, 20, 50 years from now?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is March 17th, so there's, you know, some stuff going on right now that I've been made aware of, but you know, if you ask me what my vision is for the space, I wouldn't be the best person to have that vision.
Sure.
But if you ask me, like, what might we run into here that we're not thinking about? Or if you brought to me, like, 8 different people's ideas and they needed to be kind of, like, melded into one, I would be able to, like, kind of pull, and kind of pull those together. I saw one of them that was interesting because it had a road going through it right up to Rice Street.
Oh.
And I was like, I haven't looked at that yet, but I wonder if that's like a snow hill in the wintertime, or if that's possible even. That was just my first thought on it. I just hadn't looked at the math of that, whether or not we could even do something like that. But I mean, you could do anything as an engineer. You just have a corkscrew.
Sure.
So, yeah. But so I've heard that the downtown area might need a convention area. I went to a water conference in St. Cloud, and their convention center is, at this point, it's still starting to get outdated, but it's right along the river. You can look out the river when you're at the convention in between. And you're at this, a lot of conventions that are held bring people from a lot of places. Mm-hmm. And so to have one in the downtown area, I think would be helpful, because there's so many downtown businesses that could benefit when people are in, places to stay. And we've had so much growth in downtown that we want to continue that, So I was looking, and it might be a kind of a good spot for something like that, because it still is along a river. It's hard for us to envision that river as being beautiful, but really it's a river that has, like, the opposite side of the river goes all the way up in trees, which is different than the river right here in our downtown now. Right? Our downtown now is so I think it should be really thought through, because it's just such a neat spot. So.
Yeah. So would you be in favor of a convention center downtown? You think that's something we need here?
Well, I think it's a matter of where. Yeah. I kind of think it should be on the west side of the river, or like there's a spot that might, like, what about the old post office? That was one of the things I was looking at.
Oh,
it's almost the same. Well, the post office, right? Sorry, I shouldn't call the post office old, but there's a property that says it's old, the United States Postal Service. Well, does our postal service need to be in downtown? Like, that's, we just moved our government building out to 26th. So where does the post office need to be? I think that a convention, because I think right now, isn't the convention center being thought about for the Social Security? So
the river, they're calling it the Riverline District, so kind of like on the other side, like by the 10th Street Viaduct.
And I haven't pulled the Southeast District for that, but I don't, as an engineer, and which I'm not supposed to speak about what I'm not a professional in, and I'm a professional water engineer.
Sure.
So, but I do have a creative side, and I see big pictures, and so I don't really think it should go there. Yeah. But personally, I think maybe like the Smithfield area would be a good spot for it, or where that post office building, but I don't know who owns that or was planning to do something else with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I want to shift gears a little bit here. Another thing that came up from some readers and from the community is there's just a sense among some folks in Sioux Falls that the city council doesn't listen to its constituents.
Oh boy, yeah.
Do you agree with that sentiment? And how do you plan to seek feedback from the people you represent?
Yeah, well, so far what I'm doing is, if I meet somebody that is really interested in what's going on, and I can tell that they've got ideas, because this city is so big that there's no one person or no 8 people that can know enough about it, so we have to listen. And so what I've been doing, there's a few people that when that happens, they have my phone number now in these last few weeks of campaigning, because if there's somebody that I can trust that they know more about me on this topic, I need them calling me.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I will not get through this without
listening to the experts.
So there's some pretty smart people in Southeast Sioux Falls So at the same time, some of the people that don't get listened to, we have to work a little bit harder to listen to them. Yeah. We might have to go walk a mile in their shoes to figure out what they need from us. Yeah. And so there's both, Yeah. But I'm here to serve, and I'll because I already know my priorities at 42 years old, because I already have them in order, then I know that, and in that order, my husband, my kids, and God's ultimately at the top of it, and then my husband, and then my kids, and then because the city council position is doesn't have benefits, our family gets our benefits from my employer right now, so then I have my employer, and then city council, but in there, I've also in order to listen to so many people at City Council, where I'm going to listen to people at is going to be the gym and the grocery store and the bike trail. There's part of me that's not really looking forward to people knowing me at those places because I've been able to go to the grocery store and wear whatever I want and or not do my hair and just go get what we need and come back home.
Yep.
And I want to respect the position enough to at least make an effort to make a change to that. So, yeah. But maybe if I just don't do my hair and wear my pajamas still to the grocery store, nobody would know me, and then I could get in and out. But
sneak away.
But I mean, even if they did recognize me and I was in my pajamas with my hair and it was whatever time of day that we needed something and I'm there, if I would still listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I relate to that. I also go to the grocery store in pajamas. Who among us?
Yeah.
Sara, thank you so much for covering all these topics with us. There's, obviously a lot of things that we went through, but I want to give you an opportunity to share. Are there any topics that you are passionate about or priorities in your campaign that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you want to share information with voters before Election Day?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to fire, we need a few more fire stations on the outskirts of town. So I don't know if that was already kind of rolled into that question, but
that's great.
So I wouldn't want to short those. Yeah. And then transportation, if we could speed up the construction of Veterans Parkway, I'd like that done sooner if possible. Yeah. If it's safe to, you don't want to cut safety never in construction. But if there's some things that could be done somehow with like more folks working in different areas or something, that since it's an area that we can't drive on it now, so it's not like it's under construction. So let's get it done. Yeah. Yeah. And then there would be green spaces probably because and maybe Parks and Rec a little bit. Yeah. There's some things that I think, because at one point I was like thinking, well, maybe I'm a better candidate for the Parks Board if I've got this much experience. Sure. But then I was like, I also do math, and there's so many of these budgets and TIFs, and there's different things going on that you need math. Like, how is this one going to balance out for the taxpayers? Yep. And so I want to know that, and I'm expecting that as a city councilor I would have access to any budget that I wanted to balance, study. I wouldn't be able to balance it, but I'd be able to study it and know what's going on it.
Yeah, it's all public documents too, so anybody can go read the budget documents if you really want to get nerdy with it.
Well, I grew up on a dairy farm, and I know how to wake up at 5 o'clock and go to bed at 10, and I'm expecting that, I work 32 hours a week as an engineer, and so I'm expecting that, I'll keep my hours the same in there. But my husband, this was the first year that my husband didn't sell cars at Subaru in 16 years. Wow. He wanted Saturdays with our kids. Yeah. And so 18 years, and I mixed like five or six of those as a stay-home mom. And now my husband is like this, the business that we run is temporary and out of, he does harvesting out of town. Oh, okay, cool. So he's out of town like 20 days a year. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of days he's in town. And so that's been really, I feel like I'm so well-rounded and I have all these experiences. But more than that, I care so much about all of them. And I'm also been willing, like in my entire professional career, to do whatever nobody else will do. So if I get on a city council and I'm like, yeah, you're going to be great at this, and you're going to be great at that, and you're going to be great at this, and what do you want me to do? I'll go do that. If it is that way. But at the same time, my curiosity won't stop with what they're doing. I'll still want to know, like, how is that going? Like, so yeah, I guess I know that this would be a really good fit for the skills and the talents that I have. And I'm enjoying this phase and enjoying the campaign. And that's really the only thing you can do. And I know that we'll find out on Election Day. Yeah. So
we've got a few months to wait still, but I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk through so many different topics with me and hopefully help prepare voters for the decisions they'll have to make come June. So Sarah, thank you so much. I really do
you, Megan.
appreciate it. And I wish you all the best on the rest of your campaign.
Yeah, thanks so much.